Hello, everyone. My name is John Papadakis, and I'm an Azure Business Development Manager for Ingram Micro. Welcome to part 5 of the 8-part series, Azure, the Partner Opportunity. In this series of webinars, we'll cover the partner opportunity for selling cloud solutions with Azure, explore cloud economics, and the managed service provider business model. We will provide an in-depth overview of sales and marketing best practices for cloud solutions, and end with an in-depth discussion of Azure pricing and packaging. Today, we're going to cover our guidance around the art of storytelling. It will be heavily focused on the marketing side. A bit of an overview of what is to come with this webinar series. Today is the 5th session out of 8 that will be held with 3-week intervals. The next one is, of course, New Year's. We're focusing on the discussion of how to prepare your business to start selling Azure cloud solutions and how to succeed. Please feel free to ask questions throughout. We will respond with a Q&A at the end and follow up on email if we're short on time. Today, I'm very excited to introduce Max Sherwood, the founding director at the Amigos Network. Max can share his vast experience in marketing activation and high-performance lead generation for MSPs. Max, do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi, John. Thank you, and good morning to everybody. John, I don't know whether you want to actually go on to the next slide and we can actually do it as that, or whether you, well, no, probably not. Okay, so my background is retail advertising. So I spent my time cutting my teeth on big national retail brands like Argos, Dixon's, Currys, and people like that. So there's a number of things that come out of that in terms of today's discussions and around the art of storytelling. Most important is it's all about the results. If your story doesn't resonate, then you don't get the results. And certainly within the retail sector, over all the years of experience I've had in that, results are what matter. So hopefully that will be appropriate in terms of today's discussions.
Yeah, I can tell you I'm in sales, so of course, for me at least, results matter. But it's very good to have you here because you can share your vast experience. We don't have to state how many years, but
thank you for that, John.
I can reassure the audience that it's a lot of them. So okay, I will go through a quick overview of some modules and what is the art of storytelling. So, okay, just for continuity's sake, on our previous webinars, we discussed the cloud opportunity and cloud economics and the MSP model. So this session and the next session will be 100% marketing. This will be, of course, led by the tools Ingram has and the partnership we have with the Amigos Network and all around storytelling. The next one will be around how to leverage your go-to-market tools that comes with your MPN benefits and all that nice stuff Microsoft is offering to the partners. So I've included in this presentation, and I have them in this chat, 2 very nice modules on value proposition. So what is your unique story? You can find it on the chat in the just to save some time. You know, it's something you can consume yourself. You can go through it. You can do, you know, a bit of test on do you have a unique story, how to create one, how to do an elevator pitch. So this, you know, these are the 2 slides that I'm referring to. But I would like, most importantly, to focus today on what are, you know, MSPs doing out there, what has changed from a business model perspective, a marketing perspective, and what is, you know, the future with, of course, our good partners, the the Amigos Network. So Max, do you want me to go to the next slide?
Yes, please. Yeah. So thanks, John. The first slide I got up here is just to give you a little bit of background of what we're about and why we work with Ingram Micro Cloud. So we are a managed service provider. We provide managed marketing services, and we've been working with Ingram Micro Cloud over the last 6 months to put together a program around how we can improve and enhance the lead generation process for partners, particularly around our account-based marketing program. So a lot of what we talk about today is based around that account-based marketing program, and I can go into some details on that. Obviously, if there's anything you want to know about the account-based marketing program, please do talk to John afterwards or myself, and we can give you some information on that. So there's some key in terms of the art of storytelling. You'll see I use words like meaningful and effective content and marketing. Marketing is something that is sometimes considered to be a matter of just putting a level of information and content out into the marketplace. It's not the case. It has to be a meaningful content. If it's not meaningful, people won't engage with you. So we put together a managed service, and the service that we actually provide through to Ingram Micro Cloud. There's particular elements which I've covered off here, and I won't read through all of the points, but I think you'll get by reading these what it's all about. You need a multiple set of skills to be able to actually do sound and meaningful marketing. So we have within our organization a number of different skills, all of which are used at different times within the process, but are not fully engaged all the way through the process. And that's really one of the big challenges when it comes down to the type of skills you need for good marketing. You need those skills, but you don't need them all the time. How do you actually manage that? So with Ingram, we've managed to actually put this together. We can scale up on the services we've got and put them out as and when required. The automation is critical. We all have marketing automation tools. One of the interesting things is that the industry actually says that of marketing and automation investment, there's a belief that only somewhere in the region of 30% of that investment is actually realized, with the other 70% being missed by the people who use that automation. That 70% is how you actually use your automation. So the advantage that we again can offer Ingram and yourselves is the fact that we are vastly experienced in terms of automation, and we know how to actually get the most out of it. I spoke to you about results. We're very, very results focused. There's no point in doing anything without getting results. And any program that we do for anybody, we put together very, very clear KPIs and results-driven programs. So results sit at the very forefront of our mind. With that is accountability. If you're not accountable, then you have a limited value into the process. So we actually place accountability very much at the front. And all of that adds up to demand generation at a much reduced cost, because you haven't got the waste that you would otherwise have if you tried to put that together without the scalability. So that kind of gives you an indication of what we're about, our fundamental principles, and why we partner, or why Ingram Micro Cloud, in fact, partner with us. So John, if we can move on to the next slide. So there are some fundamental principles. So as I said at the beginning of this webinar, my background was retail advertising. So I came into the IT sector late. And one of the things that I noticed very, very quickly was the IT was going through what retail went through a long, long time ago. And that is the siloed approach to the sector. So you'll recall that retail was very, very specialist. You had numerous specialist stores selling their specialist products. With the with the growth in online, that's reducing quite considerably now, and you're getting a lot more crossover between the services that you're sold. And certainly when you look at the way Amazon works, that is a really good example of what's actually happening in the world. In IT, it hasn't happened yet, and we still have this siloed approach where we're very vendor driven, where our principles are set by what the vendors are taking to market. We use that, and we call that top down. So we look at it and say it's driven from the top down. So we drive through those product verticals, we drive through distribution. Distribution, as a result of the way the markets are changing, are being challenged in terms of what we do, and we need to offer much stronger and more valuable services, which is why we're doing what we're doing now. You have the reseller channel, of which there's something in the region of about 28,000 resellers in this country. So when you start talking about the art of storytelling, that's an awful lot of stories to tell and for customers to actually engage with. So it just demonstrates how important and how challenging that is for resellers and the channel in general. And we have this expression at the bottom of an end user, which for me I struggle with terribly, because the end user is actually our customer, and in the retail space, that customer is where everything is driven from. So all our strategies are based on the customer, and we drive it back through the business. So rather than the top down, we work on a bottom up, which is, in the case of IT, the end user up. What's important to the end user, and how do we fulfill that requirement? In terms of telling stories, he's the person we need to tell the story to, and he's the person we need to engage. So if we go on to the next slide, we complicate that even more in what I would term the modern technology ecosystem. So the customer, you can see that I've identified the customer, but you'll also see that he sits in the middle of what we would call organizational chaos. So the industry or business, digital business, has changed how traditional businesses work. And there's an acceptance now that we're in the middle of what is termed the fourth industrial revolution. And that fourth industrial revolution is digital business. And it's what digital transformation is all about. It's getting us through that fourth industrial, or into that fourth industrial revolution. For the channel, it has fundamental impact, and certainly from a marketing point of view. So our customer sits right in the middle of this ecosystem, and the technology he consumes is very, very different and is much more diverse, but it's also all interlinked. So we can't talk about silos because they don't exist anymore. So but also that customer is, because of that, he is C-suite, he's finance, he's operational, he's engineering. He has a number of different roles, and his importance is significantly more. The IT manager and directors haven't disappeared, but they're part of our customer profile. And so therefore, when we're telling the story, how do we go to market to these people, we have to bear that in mind. Those customers want much stronger relationships. They're not looking for someone to come in and sell them some tin. They're actually looking for stronger relationships. They're looking, it's impacting on their operational as well as support infrastructure. So in terms of the impact on the business, it's all immersive. So therefore, we have to respond accordingly. It changes continually with the growth in DevOps and apps. They're changing on a daily basis, and we must actually change as well, so that what we're doing for those customers is meeting their challenges and their demands. So they want a technology partner, not just an IT reseller. And we're talking multiple technologies. So it's a much more complex market, and my focus here is only about the marketing, but you can understand that the implications of what you see there, it's no longer marketing down a particular silo route. We now need to look at what our customers are actually requiring and how we actually fit that. So we move on to the next slide.
That's amazing, Max. Sorry, one question from my side. I think this matrix, this diagram is a true revelation. It's very nice to see it in a visualized way. What do you think, in this matrix, what do you think are partners, our trusted IT advisor would say that would it be a subset of this whole matrix? Will it be somewhere on top? What do you think our partner would sit?
So what, in terms of the reseller partner?
Yeah, and in terms of the technology partner, there's resellers.
So a technology. So I mean, I don't actually think that. So if you traditionally we talk about the reseller channel, and my particular view on that is that if it was me, I would start changing the name of it to something else. It's because it's no longer about resellers. It's about technology partners. So those partners actually become an integral part of that business ecosystem. So it's a little bit, I think it's short-sighted now to call people resellers because the channel are no longer resellers. They're actually providing an integral business service, and that's not to suggest they weren't, but it's now been magnified and elevated significantly because technology is so immersive in entire businesses. So if you think that you're moving out from, I always think of IT as being the blokes who sit in that office under the stairs in the basement. Well, we've moved a long way from that with what technology's done, and now it's no longer IT as such; it's technology, and technology sits in the boardroom. The reason it sits in the boardroom is because the decisions we're making impact on everyday operational activity and not just support. The technology partner, the old reseller, actually is absolutely critical to that business. Their importance is significant now because the decisions you make about what technology you deploy and how you deploy it and how you consume it are fundamental. And the channel is now so important. And if you take the slide previously where if you talk about the bottom down, I actually believe that the reseller channel has now, in terms of that as a diagram where we historically have always been driven by the vendor propositions as such, I actually think now that reseller channel is more important than anything else. It's an absolute fundamental, and it's critical that whatever we do, and particularly as a distributor, we can support that reseller channel to be those trusted advisors that businesses are looking for. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it's just to answer my question. So I think you're absolutely right. From my experience, I've seen very small players, small partners that will specialize, will master one of those bubbles here. So it could be DevOps, it could be security, and they can sell to the biggest customers. Well, in the past, you need huge contracts, £1 million contracts a year to be able to just resell tin or licenses. And I think that's the beauty, and not to take too much of the time. I think there is a huge opportunity right there. Should I move to that?
I agree with you, John. I think that to me, I think that technology partner to a business, it's inconceivable that the vast majority of businesses will have the level of skill sets necessary to be able to fulfill that, and therefore technology partners become absolutely critical to the process.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
So moving on. So what does that actually mean from a marketing point of view? And we're obviously, so that was a nice bit of theory, but what does it mean in terms of storytelling and today's webinar? So to me, one of the first things that it actually means is that we need to build lasting relationships with these people and not quick flings. So we as an industry have always worked around quarterly cycles with our targets driven, again, from the top down that our targets are driven within quarters, our activities in quarters, and therefore our focus has been within quarters. If you go back to that diagram, you don't need to go back, John, but if you think about that diagram, those people want you around all the time. And their buying cycles are very, very different. The buying cycles may be 18 months. We need to be able to respond to that. You can't do that if all you do is actually communicate in a quarterly cycle. So from our point of view, it's about building those lasting relationships. And we build that around community marketing, content marketing. So we build engagement with people and we communicate with them. There's a term we use which is always on content. So we're always communicating with them about something that's interesting, something which is relevant to them, so you build that relationship, not hit them with a highly targeted and focused campaign and leave out, and once that campaign is completed, then actually move on to another opportunity. So in terms of the critical points here, and I think I'll probably put these, we probably put the order slightly wrong here, but campaigns that reflect buying trends as well as sales targets. Nobody's saying you should take the sales targets out of the way, but what you're saying is you've got to actually, it's what the customer is looking for. And there is that old expression of customer is king. From where I come from, the customer is king, and we've got to actually make sure that what we campaign to those people addresses the things that are important to them. So it's like, for example, what keeps them up at night. That's the important thing, not what keeps us up at night or what we want to sell. So you build your campaigns around those buying trends, and then you fit your sales targets into those. Compelling content and sweating those assets. This I actually probably should put at the back end of this for this particular webinar, because we then come on to something which is very relevant to that. But it's all about the content has got to be compelling. If your story isn't good enough, then nobody's going to read it. So in terms of the art of storytelling, the first critical thing is it's got to be compelling. And also the biggest challenge as any business faces is coming up with new content and coming up with content that is fresh. And so sweating those assets is really critical, making sure that you use them well, and you make sure that they don't become very, very tired. So you get the most out of your assets, but you've got to invest in coming up with strong, compelling content. Going back to the point of the lasting relationships, tactical activity versus strategic planning. We as an industry, we're very focused on tactical activity, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think we should lose our tactical focus. I think there should be tactical campaigns, but the tactical campaign should be part of a strategic campaign. I do feel that marketing has been something that there's an expression that I hear quite often, which is the colouring in department, and that's to do marketing a disservice, and particularly in today's world, I think that's a really dangerous thing to do. So I would actually suggest that or strongly suggest that you have to put the strategic planning in and let the tactical activity be a part of that strategic plan. Otherwise, you're not going to achieve your overall objectives. This point here about data is really critical. In the Fortune 500 now, the top 10 companies are all data-driven businesses. They used to be oil companies. All the big oil companies sat at the top of the Fortune 500. Not anymore. In fact, the oil companies come way down. And the reason for that is data now is more valuable than oil, and that is recognized and actually talked about by top business analysts and whatever. So we must use that data to our advantage. And we now talk, and I know people think it's kind of a lot of marketing terms and whatever, but we talk about data science. And I used to even laugh about data science a few years ago, but it is actually totally true. We need to actually spend time looking at data, understanding what data is telling us, capturing that data so we can see we've got the stats to look at, and then use that data to our advantage. It is our lifeblood moving forward. In terms of, from a marketing perspective, we have to have a focus on value, transparency, and results. This works both from our point of view and from our market's point of view. We're very, very focused on ROI, so everything we do must deliver those appropriate ROIs. It's something that should underpin anything you do. But those same ROIs apply to our customers as well. They want to see content and stories that show them value. They want to actually be able to see all the detail. They don't want to actually have a Gartner magic quadrant if it doesn't actually help them. And it also must very, very clearly be showing how it's going to deliver the benefits that they're actually searching for. The only way you can deliver all these things is with the right skills and technology. So whatever you do and however you do it, if I was going to give you a piece of advice today, is make sure that you understand and recognize what skills are necessary and what technology you need to deliver those skills, and make sure you put those in place. If you don't do that, you will never achieve your overall objectives, or you'll never maximize on the potential that you've got. In terms of storytelling, the last point here is really, really important. And in fact, John, the links that John sent you for the videos to watch later, they talk very much about differentiation. They talk about the elevator pitch. If there's 28,000 resellers out there, why should anybody talk to you over one of the other 28,000? And that comes down to differentiation. And understanding what differentiates you is absolutely critical. And that differentiation is not sitting back and saying we're passionate, we're agile, words that I probably, if I sat in your management meeting, I could probably write up on the whiteboard before you even said them. You've got to find the things that really make you different from your competition, and make you relevant to the market that you're targeting. If you may come up with differentiation, but if it's not relevant to your target audience, then it counts for nothing. So moving on, John, if you go to the next slide. So I actually thought I would have changed this slide as well, actually, and called it the science behind the stories. So although content is absolutely critical, there are certain things. Obviously, I'm advocating that you actually invest in finding out what your differentiation is and then coming up with compelling content. But once you've done that, there's some things that you then need to do as well. So John, if you can hit the first point. So the compelling content in isolation is obviously important. If you don't use it at the right in the right place at the right time, it's a diminishing value. And with online communication, with the web and whatever, this is more critical than ever. So you may look at things and say, okay, so my website is where I'm going to do all of my place all of my content or do all of my communication. You may not place much emphasis on social media, because you believe it's very difficult to see results from social media. All of these channels now are fundamental within the marketing mix. And while you may not think that that social media has an impact, I promise you it does, and we can show you the figures. Even down in terms of business to business, when you look at Facebook, the number of business to business companies who've used Facebook to talk to the buyer, the guy who is your customer, who is an individual and uses Facebook, and the results they've got are quite dramatic, and in fact still actually deliver greater results than a lot of other channels. I'm not advocating that we do it today or that that's the right approach, but I'm emphasizing the point that those channels out there are all important to the marketing mix. So it's really important, but the message you put at each of those points is different. So there's a limitation how much content you put into a social post. If it's more than 35 words, then you probably lost people. Your website, how do you use your website? Is your website a corporate communication tool, or is it a sales tool? If it's a sales tool, then all of the messages on that side should be sales messages. So again, these are the things that are really important to actually sit down and analyze before you actually do it. If you produce a website without doing that, then it's highly likely that you'll be disappointed with the results you get. So John, if we go to the next point and talking about science, so obviously our main focus is demand generation, so we talk about leads. What I find really interesting is people's different perceptions of leads, and whether they consider that a lead has actually achieved what that expectation is. We've also got a big change in terms of where leads start and how a lead is actually classified with the introduction of this intent-based marketing. So intent-based marketing means that we can actually go out into the public domain, and through search criteria, we can determine which companies are showing an interest and therefore an intent in the technologies or services we're looking to sell. Where I think there's a bit of a disjoint and where people misunderstand what you're actually seeing there, intent data and an intent lead is nothing more than intelligence. It's an early stage intent lead. It means that we now know that an organization is showing some sort of interest and it's scoring at a certain point, but that's intelligence because we can't talk to those people directly, and it's just giving us information to enable us to build marketing plans out. So when it starts to become of any value to us is when we start talking about marketing qualified leads. And I talked to you earlier on about data. We do, and I can go into it in a minute in more detail, but we actually spend a lot of time scoring all of the interactions and activity of any connection that we have. And at a certain point, when it reaches a certain score, we consider that to be marketing qualified. And a marketing qualified lead is measurable engagement, where they're demonstrating what we call mid-stage intent. So they've gone through the awareness piece. They're now saying, okay, there's consideration here. We're actually thinking about what we're doing, and therefore, as far as we're concerned, they're worth engaging more and talking to them more. Now, the reason these are important is because if you don't understand your storytelling, you won't know how effective your storytelling is and when your stories should change, when you should actually talk to more general people and when you should actually become much more targeted and personalized. We have a term, before sales qualified, which is a kind of an industry standard, we have something called a sales accepted lead. And the sales accepted lead is what we call a late stage intent. And this is where people are demonstrating a clear consideration of the products and services we're taking to market. And that's the point when we believe there should be direct engagement. And direct engagement, which is that sales qualified lead, that's where is the result of that sales follow-up from the sales accepted lead, and you have that direct engagement. Now, those, in our view, when you're planning the art of storytelling, those are what you've got to build in, because you've got to introduce content to meet each of those criteria. So a story, it can be the same story, but you present it in a different way depending on which stage those people are in the process. And if we hit the last point on this page, accurate and relevant lead scoring increases marketing efficiency. That won't come as a surprise, but actually it's surprising how often people disregard it. But actually, do the right lead scoring, make sure your content matches what you're looking to do, and you get far, far more efficient marketing results and sales deliverables. So that's a critical bit, and hopefully you'll find that useful. Is there any questions anybody's got with regards to that? Okay, so let's move on to the next slide then, John.
We'll have, sorry, Max, we'll have time at the end for questions. There are no questions in the chat at the moment.
Okay, fine. Sorry.
Anyone can feel free to write a question on the chat or the question section.
Okay, fine. I'll carry on then, John. So spending some time on the leads and what we do. So this is what we believe a good lead progression process is, and the reason that this is important is this also is about how we manage the demand generation for the account-based marketing partners in the Ingram Micro Cloud program. So we have a program. This is how we break it down. So we start at the far left in terms of intent-based data. So here we're actually building on awareness and amplifying our messaging. And we do that through social media, and we do paid social and organic. So if you're telling your story, you use both, and the message you use in either has to differ. And then we use email. So we use, obviously, where we can pull contact data, but also, in a lot of the cases, we actually use partner data as well. So we're very happy to actually take partner data into the system and market our content to them to effectively amplify the messages that you're actually looking to get out to market. In terms of that, the next stage, the aim of that is to drive engagement both in social and online. So depending on whether it comes in through the social channels or through the online channels, that engagement drives through to our community where we present always on content. And I'll come on to in a minute, giving a brief view of what cloud community is. But and I'll explain to you the principles behind it. But very simply, cloud community is an impartial community, buyer community, where people can find relevant, compelling content and information to enable them to make decisions and to understand better what it means to take your business into the cloud. So if you think of the number of vendors that Ingram Micro Cloud have and the number of partners they have, this is an extremely compelling community because there's very few places where buyers can go and have call on that amount of content. It's a relatively new concept, but it's something that we're taking to market. Certainly in 2022, we will actually be pushing very, very heavily. Once we brought people into the community, we do something called progressive profiling. And progressive profiling is through the results that we get and the scores that we get, we work out what it is that those people are interested in. So if they have a particular bias towards a particular sector, if they have a bias towards a particular need, say cybersecurity, for example, then we take them down a journey. We change that journey so that the content that we deliver to them is relevant to the areas they're showing interest in. So, and we call this seeded content. And here is content that is designed to, one, inform them and give them the answers they want, but two, also to give them the opportunity to engage with the technologies directly and to the channel through the partners that are participating, so that they can effectively not only learn but then act on that learning by getting in touch with the right people to take them forward in their deliberations. We have, there are two particular pieces that we then build into that progressive profile in that seeded content. One of them is a CTA, which is where we will actually put specific calls to action, so that we're asking people, if you've shown particular interest in this, then maybe you want to see that, maybe you want to talk to a technologist, maybe you want to talk to a partner. We also have something here which you'll excuse, I hope you don't mind some slightly rich language, but this is an old retail term, which is "fuck me, that's cheap." And basically what you have there is offers that are hooks to drive people over the top. So it's, we talk about swag and the fact that we use swag in terms of an incentive to get people to respond. Well, that's no different in anything that we do from a marketing point of view. We just need to put a science around it. So we actually have things that will actually push people over the edge. If they're that close and it needs a little tickle to go over the edge, then we'll give them that. That drives us through to the MQLs and then through to the sales engagement. And if you, John, if you hit the next button, the important thing about all of that is we score absolutely every point on that process. So whether somebody dwells on the page, whether somebody clicks, downloads, the only thing we probably don't care too much about is an open. If you're building your marketing and sales demand gen programs around opens, you've got real problems. Opens don't count for a lot. It's what they do after that. So it's the clicks, downloads, page visits, dwell time. Dwell time's a really interesting one. Dwell time shows you when a system's not actually, when you're not going through an automated system, because automated systems are not likely to actually have significant dwell time. So again, it helps us to actually work out what's a real lead and what's an automated systems-driven lead. So all of these things are really important. So, and underpins my point about a science behind data. So come up with good stories, get the science in place, the results are going to be better. So we go on to the next slide. So we have to help us to deliver this and manage this, we have what we call automated channel management. So automated channel management is a system that we've actually put together, which delivers all of that information that you see, all of those scores, directly through to our channel partners. So those partners who are on the account-based marketing program have a login to a dedicated portal, and they can see the lead progression. So we have, going back to my point about full transparency, you'll be able to see exactly how things are working. So instead of actually pumping your money into a telemarketing outfit and waiting for the results, you can see the progression of your leads through the different stages of the process, and you can understand what's engaging people, what's not, how to change that, how to progressively profile those people through. You can watch that as it goes on, and you see your leads come into the appropriate score at the back end. When they hit the score at the back end, the automated channel management sends automated alerts. So once we agree what we consider to be the appropriate score for direct engagement, we send automated alerts direct to the designated sales contact. They get that record, they can see exactly what that person's done, they can see when they did it, they get it in real time. So because there's also, if somebody downloads a white paper, the time to talk to that person is within the next 12 hours. So we give it to you in real time. You've got the opportunity to go directly back to that individual, say, I've seen you downloaded the white paper, come and have a conversation. So we've got a very robust technology infrastructure to take those leads through to the channel partners so that they can react in a timely manner and obviously maximize results. So if we go on to the next slide. So this is just to give you an indication, a little bit more indication of that as a process. So this is the account-based marketing program that the Ingram MicroCloud are rolling out or have rolled out. In terms of its important for storytelling, if you don't get this bit right, then you can tell whatever stories you like, you don't get the results. So we break it down. As you can see, we talk about community and content-based marketing and technologies to actually improve how we respond to the lead chain. So in turn, and there are two particular aspects of the service. The first is the managed account-based marketing program. For that, we've created Cloud Community, and I'll show you what Cloud Community is, but it's basically content outreach, and we base that on sales plays. So we've worked out what we consider to be the subjects that are impacting on our buyers, on our customers, what's important to them, what they want to hear from people, what they want to learn about, and we put those into sales plays. So we have a number of sales plays which we take to market and we deliver to our audiences. And we do that through the community site, but we also do campaigns, weekly campaign newsletters, taking that content to them so they can actually see what content we've got in the site, and obviously it drives them into that site. Our lead progression obviously is important, and we've spent time talking about that. We've talked about the progressive profiling. what a cloud community does for you is it drives out a higher quality MQL. So if you go back to the point of intent-based leads, for example, intent-based leads I would call a low-level lead in terms of quality. By enriching those contacts, those leads through our community, we turn out a much higher quality MQL where we can say these people have expressed a much higher level of intent and interest in the subjects we're talking about. And the automated channel management we've discussed, but basically what we do in terms of the key elements of it, we have a full and centralized MarTech stack. We're not looking to replace your systems. We actually interact with your systems. We can deliver information through to your systems. So it's not duplication. But what we do have is that centralized stack, which enables us to provide an awful lot of technology through a single portal. That allows us to deliver automation of lead measurement and reporting. The management of that lead progression, so we don't lose leads. Leads don't drop out anywhere. They're always there and can be managed. The program also offers maintenance and support, so we support that program fully, and we coordinate the program as well. So through the Amigos aspect, another part of our role within the Ingram Micro Cloud setup is we look after the relationships with the account-based marketing partners. So those people on the program, we deal with them, we talk to them about content, what content they want to see, the content we put on their dedicated pages, and we manage that program to make sure that the content is to the highest quality. So we move on to the next page. Okay, so John, at this point, I think we're going to throw it across to me, and I'll just go into the actual slides, into the screens.
Yeah, of course. Let's have a look at what it actually looks like.
Right, so here we go. So this is Cloud Community. Hopefully, John, can you see that?
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, so this is Cloud Community. So this actually shows you, this is the homepage for Cloud Community. It's unlikely that our campaign would drive you through to this page, but we do actually have the URL here, and you can go in. We'll send this across to you in the meeting notes, but you can actually go in and have a look at this. But what we would normally do is drive you through to a piece of content. So if you look, for example, at this particular piece here, which is a featured article, the campaign you will do, this will be a feature in terms of our newsletter, as will a number of other pieces across the different sectors we've got. So you can see we cross a number of different sectors. We've broken them down into the sorts of categories that our buyers would understand. So there's infrastructure as a service, the modern workplace, we've got cybersecurity, and we do value SaaS. Now, obviously, not surprisingly, these do also reflect the business groups of Ingram Micro Cloud. However, that's about where it stops in terms of any mention of Ingram Micro Cloud at all. So within this site, there is no reference to Ingram Micro Cloud. It's fully impartial. It's designed for the buyers, for our audience, and basically it's all based on information. So we've gone to a lot of trouble to make sure that the content we deliver up is will be perceived as impartial, and that they understand that. It doesn't stop us selling, and I'll show you how we actually do that and how we do that progressive profiling in the site. You can see here the different technologies, and you can see where our kind of strongest areas are at the moment, and that's purely as we roll things out. When we get into particular sections, you can see here we spend time talking about the issues that matter. So why moving to the cloud makes perfect sense. In very simple terms, we put forward what we believe are the reasons why a business who's considering migration should migrate to the cloud. What we then do is we present a number of different stories relating to that, and they'll vary from here is this is a comparison between the top technologies. This is from a partner, so this is a particular piece that a partner has done about cloud migration and whether it's sustainable. We've got links to third-party content like the 7 myths about cloud computing from McKinsey. So we put content in like that as well. We have areas where we can promote, and these are clearly identified as brand-based content. And when they're brand-based content, we think it's reasonable that, that a visitor will understand that that's paid content. But what we also do is we have content at the bottom here relating to technology and to resellers. So we have the ability to actually go in, and if I go into any one of these, you'll see here that we drill down. We have this thing called a technology spotlight, where we take the key features and points relating to a particular technology. We talk about that, we show the services, and then we go into articles relating to that particular technology and the resellers that support that technology as well. These pages, as far as we're concerned, we're not, apart from this top element here, which is obviously editorial, the other content on the page, when we get down to here, this can be whatever the technology the vendor wishes to put in. So they can determine, so you can see here we've got a video around, sorry, this one actually isn't. This is how to work out how to get AWS, how do you log in. I think there is a video there. This is a customer story. This is how much it will cost you, and here is another. This is a partner case study as well. So the content on here is determined by a mix of the partners and the technology, and we just we look after that content and ensure that it's in the right place. Where there's a compelling story, we put it through to the front page, the home page, so people can see that as well. And you can then see on this right hand side, this is where we have calls to action. This is where we actually look to drive visitors to actual areas where they can engage with us and find out more information. If I go into if I go back a stage, and if I show you just going into a particular partner, you can see the same sort of principle here. And again, the banner is a collaboration between ourselves and the partner. The messaging, again, is we agree with the partner what the message is they want to put across. So whilst we write this from an impartial perspective, we ensure that we work with the partner to make sure it reflects what they want, the message they want to get across. You can see here is an example of how they actually then start providing their own content in. So you've got, for example, here, this is a piece of research that this particular partner's done. And we go in here and you can start to actually learn about the research. We tell them about the business so people can actually benefit from that. So this is the type of content you get in the site. You can get, I hope you can get the impression from that how it works, how we drive people through. We have an area up here where you can actually see what the community is about. So we explain the principles behind the community. So there's that impartiality there. And we're rolling out this piece here where you'll actually be able to determine what you actually want to see.
In the interest of time also, because we only have a couple of minutes, is there can the partners have a demo if they like? Can they reach out to you and they reach out to us and have a demo with the platform?
Absolutely. I mean, anybody, if they get in touch with you, John, or get directly in touch with me, I can actually, we'll set up a demonstration. That's the only thing you want to see.
That's right. Do you want to go through the account-based marketing just for 1 minute, and then I can?
Yeah. So very quickly, this is the account. This is the dashboard that you would see, and you can actually you see the content you get here, and then what you also do is these are the alerts we talked about. So you get the ability to see exactly where a lead status is. Whoops, sorry, that's because I logged out earlier. Sorry, So what this enables you to do, you have an individual login, and you can actually go into each of the individual records and see. I'm not sure this is firing up, John. Has it fired up? Yes, it is. Yeah, so you can go into an individual record, and you can see what you need to see about that particular record. So in terms of backing it up, this is the sort of content that you actually, and you can see there, for example, everything relating to that particular client. The reason this is showing a current score of 0 is because it's actually gone over the threshold we set, which was 600. And so she scored more than, this particular person scored more than 600 because she's done everything. So we need to reset our things. But you get to see exactly when each person clicks on and what they clicked on. So you've got full transparency, and from a sales perspective, you've got the ability to actually know exactly what to talk to the people about when you go in there. So going back to the point of storytelling, John, we've actually worked out what the right story is. We've engaged them through the process. We've taken them into a site where they can get more of it. We've enriched their experience. We've identified when they're right to talk to and passed that out to the channel so that people can actually engage with them and have that direct communication.
That's great. I think that's it's really useful. Again, as I said, I'm in sales. I've been in sales for many years, and what I really want to discuss about with partners, with customer, is actions. So what can we do to improve the quality of the leads? How can we take specific actions that will lead to specific results? Yes, thank you so much, Mark. I think this is invaluable information. There is always, more time, more things to discuss in depth. Anyone, if you want to reach out, you can. We can have a one-to-one session and go through the whole process again. Okay, call to actions. Again, explore the Azure SMB Partner Hub. Start learning with Azure fundamentals, sign up with a free Azure account if you haven't already, and learn more about the cloud community and the account-based marketing. So the next webinar will be in the 11th of January, of course, because of the holidays. It will take more than 3 weeks. You can check out the cloud solutions for every customer campaign. And yes, I think that's it. It took a bit longer than expected. Any questions? Anyone has any questions? There's nothing in the chat. That's fine. Okay, I want to thank you, Max. I think it was really valuable. The art of storytelling, but not just in theory. What can we do about it, and what steps can we take to get more leads in and quality leads? It was really valuable. On our next webinar, I will focus on the marketing side of Microsoft. So what Microsoft tools are there to help you go to market? So that's it from us. Thank you for joining in, and I will hope to see you next time.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Max. Everyone will receive an email tomorrow with the recording of the webinar, and any questions you have, you can redirect back to Cloud Marketing UK. Thank you very much.